What is it?
This girl I just matched with, she likes The Office. I also like The Office.
Go to her.
She likes The Office.
I'd known Monica for a whole 6 seconds. She was gonna switch to me.
I object.
Oh, did I mention she was getting married?
I'm Tanner. I like watching The Office and going on adventures. 6 foot. Gym rat. I want to find the Pam to my gym. And we're unlike any man I've ever met in my life.
You are unlike any woman I have ever met.
Switching has never been easier. Switch to T-Mobile and save up to $650 per line.
You're definitely not 6 feet.
T-Mobile is the leader in 5G.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to the plus side of sewing. I'm AARONICA Cole, your host and guide on this journey of threads, textures, and transformations. Whether you're a seasoned sewist, a daring DIYer, or you've just threaded your first needle, you're in the right place. But before we actually jump into the show, I feel like it's only right for me to go ahead and introduce myself to you. Hi, I'm AARONICA, and I am a plus-size sewist who is really loving life now that I've learned how to make clothes that fit my body as well as my style. So let's jump into a little bit of background about who I am. I have kind of been, dare I say, a little chubby all of my life. Although I will say, like looking back at those pictures of me when I was a kid, I don't actually think your girl was that chubby. I just think that, people had an interesting concept of the way that bodies are supposed to look. But either way, I was not the most comfortable in my skin for a really long time. And I had battled through eating disorders, as well as loving myself, as well as celebrating the body that I have. My body is something that I am extremely proud of, even as I navigate deciding whether or not this is the permanent size that I want to be, right? What I do want to say, though, is that self-love is a journey. It's not a destination. Okay, friends? So a little bit more about me. Growing up, I didn't particularly love style. I was a tomboy. In fact, the only thing that I wanted to wear as a kid was my father's clothes and my big brother's clothes. That was it. I went to Catholic schools, so I was destined to wearing pleated skirts, and I hated every single moment of it. Of course, now making skirts and dresses are definitely some of my favorite things. But growing up, I would have never thought that sewing or being seen as someone who is fashionable or anything like that would be something that I was actually known for. So I actually went to Spelman College. Shout out to all of my Spelmanites, especially those who are tuning in today. And there it is, like, y'all, when I tell you that it is a walking fashion show, it really is. So I've drawn a lot of my inspiration in my personal style from the Spelman College campus. I got my first degree in psychology, and then I also have an MBA in marketing. Y'all, when I tell you that I love marketing, marketing is my jam. I love it so much. But through even all of that, I would have never thought that it would be sewing would be the thing that, like, people were like, oh, please tell me more about this. So after I went to college, excuse me, I'm getting over a little chest cold situation. But after I went to college, I and graduated from grad school, I was in corporate America. And in corporate America, they are really, really, really hard on Black women and what we wear. And so I became really, it was hard for me to embrace my body and embrace my style as someone who was working in corporate America. They wanted you to fit into this mold and into this box. And I was like, so I feel like the only thing that boxes are good for are standing on top of and shouting. Like, please do not put me in a box. So after I left corporate America via layoff the first time, because I was pregnant, or rather I got pregnant with my oldest child. And I actually feel like after each child that I've had to relearn what my style is. And after I had my oldest child, I was like, oh, I don't feel like I can wear the crop tops or the bodycon dresses anymore. You know, I grew up during a time where it was not okay, because if you had like thick thighs or if you had a stomach, you were not supposed to wear crop tops or baby tees or have anything that was like hanging out, right? And so I subscribed to that notion. Let us like have a moment for that that point in time where I allowed other people to tell me what was appropriate for me to wear, right? And then after I had my second child, I just could not lose weight. Y'all, I was really trying to shove myself to fit into garments that did not fit my body. And at that point in time, I finally embraced a skill set that I had kind of left behind. I've been sewing since I was like 5 or 6. I've taken one sewing class in my life when I was 13 years old. For reference, I turned 41 this year. So I did not really know how to make the wardrobe of my dreams, but I started just by trial and error. Like, people are always asking me like, oh, what's the best way to learn? Did you follow YouTube? They didn't have YouTube University when I was like learning how to sew, babe. That's how old I am, okay? But I did a lot of trial and error. I made a lot of things the wrong way. I made a lot of things that didn't fit. And then I learned how to make adjustments for my body, right? And here's the other thing. Yes, this is called the plus side of sewing, where we center plus size bodies, but that doesn't mean that the standard size babes will not get something from this as well. But generally speaking, we don't center the plus size body. We don't do that enough. So that's what this show is going to be dedicated to. So then I started to really learn how to make the adjustments that were necessary for my body, so that when I made mini skirts, I wasn't giving like free shows, right? Because we got to charge for these things. We got bills to pay, okay? And I became more empowered to make things that made me feel beautiful, that made me feel amazing, that made me feel like I was the goddess that was just waiting to take form, right? And when I learned how to do that, and when I became that, I don't know, dare I say I've become unstoppable. And I no longer had to be at the mercy of designers who made something that I wanted to actually wear. I began to make the things that I wanted to wear that fit the body that I have now, not the body that I wished that I had, or the body that people told me that I had. So now when people ask me about, oh, well, like, what's your style? I'm in my, I like to say my high school teacher, my high school art teacher mixed with like rich auntie aesthetic. When I asked my husband how he would describe my style, he's like, definitely like a boho chic, very earthy, very like flowy feel. And I love that because at any point in time, I can identify as what I want, right? Like, I love to be able to maybe one day be preppy. If you have seen one of my most recent pattern releases, there I am in a pleated skirt, throwback to my high school and grammar time, right? With like a sweatshirt on, giving preppy. But I also love to be sexy, right? Because like even right now, I've got on like a mesh bodysuit where you can see my bra through. But of course, I also have this on top. I love that I'm able to transition depending upon whatever it is that I feel, and I can keep up and make my own times. I have a podcast. It's called The Audacity, and I host it with my friend, dear brother, Julian Creates. And one of the things that he said on our first episodes is something that I keep in my head and I tell myself as I create and as I design, right? And that is, I am the style icon, right? I get to be the trendsetter. And understanding that you have that power when you sew your own clothes is really, really a beautiful thing for yourself. So in addition to sewing, of course, my own clothes, I'm also a designer. Yeah, it's kind of wild. So I started designing when I actually started probably designing a very long time ago, but I did not feel comfortable enough to design patterns on my own. But then Mimi, as in, yes, the one and only Mimi G, queen mother of the sewing community, right? She was like, hey girl, I love your style. Would you like to design for Nomi Patterns? It didn't go exactly like that, but in my head, I was like that calm, cool, and collected. And I was like, oh my God, you want me? And she was like, yeah, like, I think that your style is really amazing. And so, well, when we come back from this commercial break, because we got to pay the bills, I'll tell you exactly how it went down.
Omar, look. Omar, check this out. Hi, yeah, I was calling to see if you do laser hair removal for men. Notice that my hips are off the ground? And then I'm gonna pike my hips back into downward dog. Hey, the rain stopped.
A bad day on the road still beats a good one off it.
Tell me about that dental procedure again. I can still taste it in my mouth.
Progressive helps keep you out there.
Okay, so when Mimi asked me, I was like, wow. So for starters, let me be clear. I'm a crier. Your girl is not afraid to shed a tear or a lot. And the tears definitely flowed. Why? Because I have admired Mimi for so many years, right? Mimi was one of the people who I saw making clothing in the community that I was like, yeah, I could definitely see myself making that, right? And so to be seen and told by someone you admire that your style looks good to them, I was really, really floored. And yes, I would like to think that as an adult, I don't need the approval of others, or it doesn't matter to me what other people think. Yeah, I subscribe to that thought process as well most days. But I will say that when someone who you admire sees you and makes you feel seen, that also feels really good, no matter the age that you are. So when she invited me on, I started to design for Nomi Patterns, which is part of the Big Five, with McCall, Simplicity, Butterick, and Vogue as well. And then I was like, you know what? Why stop there? I was already working with Made for Mermaids patterns, and I came on as a designer there as well. So now I design patterns. So one of the questions that Leah has asked is, do I have a specific pattern maker that I go to? Myself? No, but seriously, some of my favorite pattern designers are the ones that help me in becoming who I am today as far as a sewist and a pattern designer. So Patterns for Pirates, which is by Judy, Made for Mermaids, which is owned by Megan. And then there are some others. But here's the other thing. Testing for Judy with Patterns for Pirates and Megan with Made for Mermaids, they're the ones who really taught me how to develop this skill set that I have now. So I always recommend when people are like, oh, how did you get to become a sewist, or how did you develop your skill set? How did you learn? I definitely feel like testing patterns was something that was key for me. Now, let's also talk a little bit about inclusivity in sewing, right? Because I want to say that when you decide to make your own clothes, you're going to be met with pattern makers and people who are like throwing things at you and who are like, oh, make this now. But let me tell you something. Just like for so long, there was not size inclusivity in ready-to-wear items. The sewing community is just a smaller subset of our greater society. Just like we battled to get ready-to-wear items that were plus size or size inclusive, we've had to battle the same way as far as getting our sizes included in plus or in sewing patterns as well. So now I'm someone who believes in voting with my money, and I will support, monetarily speaking, the people who support me. I made a promise to myself, and that was that I would no longer spend money with brands or with companies that do not include my size. Do I know how to grade it out to my size? Yes. But if my size line is not included, I'm just not going to buy it. Why? Because I'm not their target audience. It wasn't designed for me. So my money was not designed for them. And that's as simple as it is, right? It's no shade. It's no hate. It's none of that. I am not their target audience. And I'm not going to be over here being loud about how I want to be included, because I'm not a pick me, right? You can either choose to include different body types or you cannot. It is simple as that. So I will say that what we see now as far as inclusivity was not always seen, right? We have a lot of makers or a lot of pattern designers that are doing more size inclusive sewing. And here's the reason why it is important, right? When we think about diversity, when we think about inclusivity, oftentimes we are only thinking about in terms of Black and white, right? Literally, do they have Black representation? Or are we only seeing the white bodies? Yes, very obvious. But inclusivity also means, are there going to be accommodations, or are you going to show me how to make accommodations for maybe a growing belly, right? Like if I get pregnant. It also means including sizing, not just the plus sizes, which of course is something that I am passionate about because I'm in a plus size body, But what about the super small sizes? Are they also included? Right? What about people whose bodies have grown differently? Right? What about making the accommodations for different adaptive clothing? Right? What about those? So when we talk about inclusivity, it's not just as black and white or plus size or not. Right? We're talking about actually including and making people feel welcome, and not just in a way that is just like, I guess we'll make space for you at the table. Like, no. We want, when we're talking about inclusivity, we want people to say things like, oh, no, please come and sit with us, right? Please come and sit with us. Not, I guess like you can just move over. It's the attitude behind it. And to me, that is also something that is very, very important when it comes to talking about brands and inclusivity. There are actually a couple of brands that are out there that are plus size specific, very similar to how I'm centering the plus size body with this here show. There are pattern designers or pattern brands that are out there that center the plus size body. Now, Cashmerette is one of them, and it's owned by Jenny. And Jenny has started out Cashmerette. She only designed for plus size bodies, and then she went back and started to design for the smaller size bodies, right? I love that. Muna and Broad is another brand that was started centering the plus size body, and they are actually one of the only brands that I know of that makes different types of patterns depending upon where you actually hold the fat in your body, right? Just because you're plus size does not mean that we all hold fat in the same exact way, because that could not be further from the truth. One of the things that we really struggle with, right, when you have a plus size body is all plus size bodies not being made equally. For example, one of the things that I get told often is like, oh my goodness, you look so much like there's a model out there, and I forget her name right now. And y'all, this model is beautiful. So it's always such a big compliment to me. But when I tell you that baby's got the perfect shoe, right? Like she doesn't have rolls. She doesn't have fat storage in certain places, right? Sis is bad, but she typically has that hourglass shape with no rolls sticking out any place extra, right? Whereas for me, I've had 3 babies. The first thing that they did not put away was my body, right? They did not put my body back to where it once was before they went ahead and decided to use my body to grow. Okay, and of course, that's very loosely stated. Obviously, it was my choice to grow their bone, right? I wanted them. I also wanted them to just kind of put some things back where they belonged, and they did not. I digress. But here's the thing, right? Our bodies are all shaped differently, and that's whether you're in standard sizing or whether you're plus size. I now have a lot of fat in my stomach area. Some people call it a fupa. Some people call it a mom apron. Whatever it is that you decide to call it, I'm storing fat almost like in a little tire type of area around my body. I have a lot of fat on my sacrum bone, right? That is where I store my fat. So when it comes time to fitting my body, if I go just based off of that hip measurement, things don't fit me quite right. Why? Because I don't actually have a lot of hips. I've got a lot of booty, right? And so Muna and Broad actually have designed patterns that accommodate that extra bit of fat that's back there, which I think is so beautiful, right? I think it's so important for us to be able to do that sort of thing, which is one of the reasons why I'm so excited about some of our upcoming episodes, where we'll be actually showing you how to take measurements, where on your body they matter, as well as how those measurements matter in the adjustments that you make in your pattern pieces. But y'all will just have to wait for future episodes. So make sure you turn back in, okay? So those sorts of things are important, and they matter big time, right? Because all bodies are not made equally, just like all adjustments are not made equally. And you have to learn your body in order for you to go ahead and understand what types of adjustments that you need in order for your plus size body to really be shown off the way that it needs to be, right? I'm a firm believer in adorning the bodies that we have. So in order for us to do that, why not make the clothing, make the adjustments, etc., that actually fit what we're working with right now, okay? And with that, we're gonna go ahead and pause for another commercial break because, baby, we still have bills to pay.
Home. It's more than just coordinates on a map. More than just shelter. It's a sense of purpose. It's a sanctuary. It tells a story of connection, a story of community. We believe that story begins with a simple philosophy. Wellness matters. There is no knowledge so hard to acquire, and none so worthy of pursuit. Balance, harmony, serenity, the layers of a life well lived, and a story well told.
All right, and welcome back. Like we said, we're about to go ahead and jump into some questions, because what's the point in having a live show if we can't answer these questions live and in person and give the people what they are asking for? So I do want to go ahead and use this time to encourage you to go ahead and drop a question. Some of them I will not get as specific in because I may have already designed a show that's designed behind it, and you'll just have to tune in to see the full answer for that. But go ahead and use this time to go ahead and ask your questions. And I'm going to go ahead and get started with the question that Leah actually asked. I started my answer and I've given a couple of those answers in there, but let's deep dive into it a little bit further. As far as a favorite pattern maker, something like that is it's such a hard question to answer. Why? Because I love to see what other people are doing. For example, Daughter Judy Patterns is one of my favorite new to me pattern companies. Why? I love the way that Chelsea, who owns Daughter Judy Patterns, I love the way that she utilizes darts to really fit a garment to fit the body. I made her Teague dress and I had never used waist darts before. And when I tell you that those waist darts made such a huge difference in how that pencil dress slid over my curves and didn't hike up or anything like that, it made a difference. I also really love the shapes that she designs with her pants. I feel like they're wonderful, as well as her dresses. Her dresses are just truly fantastic. I think that her grading is really great. She is more size inclusive, and I really appreciate that, obviously, as a person who needs size inclusivity. Another, obviously, huge favorite of mine, Patterns for Pirates, which I named. I love the way that both Patterns for Pirates and Made for Mermaids draft. And yes, I said draft because I draft for them as well. So I'm including myself in that. And the reason why is because they draft for a curvier body. So I have to make less adjustments when I'm sewing those patterns. And for me, that's something that is huge. I love that I'm able to, like on live on TikTok this week, I made the pants that I'm currently wearing. I can stand up and show you in a second. But I love that I didn't really necessarily need to make any adjustments, and they fit amazingly. Or I should make you guys go to my YouTube, not my YouTube, but my Instagram to go see the full outfit. I don't know, I might make you guys do that. I also really love paper cut patterns. Love, love, love them. I really love petite stitchery. I think that petite stitchery patterns, they do a lot of cutting edge and really modern takes on different designs. Fantastic, fantastic designs in my humble opinion. Friday patterns. I love the way that Chelsea designs those. I think that she also really jumps into different silhouettes very, very well. And she does a lot of designs that either are for men or are more gender inclusive, which I think is big, because I think that the men's like space in sewing is one that is an untapped resource. Like we need more patterns for men. We need more designers for men. And I like that she gets in there. I also really like Seamwork patterns. I think that Seamwork has such a great repository of patterns. They are not all size inclusive. And then I also, of course, love Closet Core Patterns. They have fantastic patterns. LB Patterns So good. I did a pattern test with LB, like literally right before I moved into my new house. And it was like, I think it's called the like razor skirt. And it like has these two dips. It's such a unique silhouette. And I love, love, love how she had us finish it. Um, and then I'm like thinking to myself, I did just go and buy a bunch of patterns because I just like to do that. As far as denim patterns go, I love the Ranger jeans from Happily Dressed. Brandon is a new pattern designer and he came out with these Ranger jeans. They're a wide leg jean and they are amazing. I love the way that his tutorials flow together. His construction is amazing. Herbachia Studios, she's a fantastic grader. She grades wonderfully for plus size bodies. I love those. If you are like into making your own bras and panties, all of them also have bras and panty options as well for the most part. Let's see. What is the ideal fabric for denim jeans for plus size women? Listen, Holly, let me be completely honest. I am a firm believer that there is nothing that fits a body like a little stretch denim, even if it's not like 100% stretch where it's super stretchy. But here's the thing. I think that a good stretch denim is going to give a quality fit. And the reason why is because normally we have some extra curvature, whether that is in that we need to make our waistbands a little bit wider in order to accommodate like as we sit down and we expand, or because our waists are smaller because we've got like big booty Judies, right? Hi, it's me. Or whether we have like a hard dip in our back. When you're working with a stretch denim, it's going to really mold to your body. And I think that's important. I will also say that doing a high quality like woven, like about a 10 ounce woven that has no stretch is also really good because once you break it in and it begins to mold to your body, it's also a really beautiful feeling as well. But I do find that less plus size bodies want to wear more tailored looks like a harder like woven denim because those can take some time to really truly break in. And I'm not gonna lie, sometimes like your body just doesn't feel like that. Like sometimes I'm literally like, I just want to feel good in my clothes. Like I don't want to break this in. Like like I said, I'll be 41 this year. Your girl is past like being just uncomfortable. Okay. Past it. So Nicole Angeline asked, how do you get out of a sewing funk? I felt lost and uninspired recently, both by my sewing and my closet. Babe, been there. The first thing that you want to do is empty your closet of the things that don't make you feel good. Seriously. Like, I'm not going to say go full Marie Kondo because even Marie Kondo, after she had kids, was like, y'all, I was tripping. Don't do that. But I will say, find your joy. Like, it sounds to me like you need to go through a style refresh, right? Like I said earlier, I think that I've refreshed my style after every child at this point in time, at this juncture, is when I finally feel like I feel good. One of the things that I speak to is having a cohesive wardrobe, not a capsule wardrobe, right? And really embracing dopamine colors that make you feel good when you wear. So for example, and I'm going to stand up so you I won't force you to go to Instagram and see my outfit. So for example, like what I have on today, right? Like I've got on some power colors, right? When I tell you, I looked in the mirror and I looked at myself and I said, baby, you look good. That's what you got to do, Holly. I mean, that's what you got to do, Nicole. Get some good silhouettes that make you feel amazing, that make you feel beautiful, and then make those, right? And don't do it in a way where you feel like you have to show up for someone else, or you subscribe to someone else, what other people think that you should be wearing. Make the things that you feel like you should be wearing for yourself. And with that, y'all, our time is just almost up. But before we go, I do want to give a big shout out to Atlanta Frocktails, which is being hosted by your girl right here. It is May 4th, where we will be partying hard, and it's a party for makers. So whether you sew, knit, crochet, embroider, any of the above, I want to see you there May 4th. So follow at Atlanta Frocktails on Instagram for more details. And then, of course, I want to make sure that you know that you need to be tuning in weekly for this 30-minute segment. This season, we have quite a few things scheduled, and I'm super excited about them all. We'll be going over measurements. We'll be going over adjustments. We'll be making the best pair of leggings that fit your body together, as well as wrapping up with going over fabrics, which of course is a really big thing, before we wrap up the season with making a beautiful spring/summer dress that is going to make you feel as beautiful as.
What is it? This girl I just matched with, she likes The Office. I also like The Office. Go to her. She likes The Office.
I'd known Monica for a whole 6 seconds. She was gonna switch to me.
I object.
Oh, did I mention she was getting married?
I'm Tanner. I like watching The Office and going on adventures. 6 foot.